very common on the AP test to give problems where you estimate something versus calculate something or find. If you can keep straight in your mind the difference between what we do when we estimate versus when we find, it actually helps solve the problem. So estimate the rate at which the number of people, so the rate of number of people waiting in line is changing. So I'm kind of thinking Danica's chart. So let's see. So I would have said, we've got the amount here is the people waiting in line, that's L. Therefore the rate is L prime. So it says estimate the rate at this time, show the computations, indicate units. So when I jump over here to estimate L prime, I basically just find the slope or find the rate of change. So I go between this time and this time because 5.5 is in between. You get 1 point if you come up with 8. You have to show this or you have to show this. And you get 1 point if you write people per hour. Follow-up questions from anyone? Cool. The next one says use a trapezoidal sum, so that's an integral. So I always write an integral whenever I'm doing an integral. So trapezoidal sum with 3 subintervals to estimate the average. My flashcard memory says to find the average, I've got to have 1 over something. Average number of people waiting in line. L is the people in line. So I integrate L to find the average. First 4 hours. So that's from 0 to 4. And I've got to have a 4 minus 0 here. And I need a dt. I write approximate because a trapezoidal sum is always an approximation. Anyone have any follow-up questions? Okay, please remember you have to have the right notation. Please.
So we have to have that LT on there.
The scoring guide for this one, this is a little bit old, does not include the integral, but I would be very nervous on the current test because they've upped their, how would you say, requirement for having the right notation. So I have a really simple rule for the AP test, and that's if I'm performing an integral, I always write the integral. So if you forgot for the pebble, don't worry about it. But yeah, I would always write the integral. Anybody else? So to do the Riemann sum, I'm like, okay, I got the 1/4. That's not part of the integral. Riemann sum means I do 1/2. So break it up. Let's see. Trapezoidal sum, 3 subintervals. So I go from here to here, like so. So this would be 120 plus 156. Close parenthesis. The dt for that subinterval is 1. Plus, I do it again. So that would be 1/2. 156 plus 176. The dt for that subinterval is 2. Plus, let's see, 1/2. 176 plus 126. dt for that subinterval is 1, close parenthesis. Now I read again. I always do some work, and then I read to make sure I've done what they said I'm supposed to do. Use a trapezoidal sum, good. 3 subintervals, 1, 2, 3, to estimate the average number. Yep, I'm doing an average. People waiting in line, first 4 hours, that's all they said to do, I quit. Right there. I don't do anything else. Because on the FRQ, I don't have to simplify anything. So that's going to give me the full points. I don't actually have to come up with this number. This will give you full credit. So I get 1 point for doing the trapezoidal sum and 1 point for this whole thing.
You have to put 3 months, you have to put, not 3,
The integral.
The integral equals that,
Best to say approximate because a Riemann sum
yeah,
is always an approximation.
but you don't put an integral in front of that.
No.
Okay.
What we're doing here is we are doing the computations that are required to find the value of this. We're not integrating again. So yeah, if you put an integral sign here, they are going to take off points because that notation doesn't make sense. Two pebbles, which question? Please.
Could you do like divide by 2 and calculate it
Divide by 2, multiply by 1/2, same
like
thing.
it won't be bad if you go
No,
through it?
either way. That's equivalent, so they won't care about that. Two for Maddie. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Please, yeah, please.
What if you already just like, what if you just write down, like, 1/2 times that was 138, what if you just put 138 times 1? Like,
Oh, I got you, like you just did it on your
Okay,
calculation,
yeah.
kind of going. Kind of like Tanner's question, to be honest. I've seen a lot of AP questions where they really want to see that you understand where the numbers come from. So for Riemann sums, I would write them down, just so they can see where they're coming from. Plus, it's safer. You really don't have to do anything else. Like, this is perfect. And if it showed up on a non-calculator question, you wouldn't want to for sure. So better to have this happen, really. 2 for Kennedy. Anybody else? Okay, I didn't ask you to work on C, so don't worry about that. But I will make one comment about it. This is what's required to get the points on problem C, okay? Or this. Hey, I've done a lot of FRQs, and I have noticed that every once in a while they throw something on that when I start working on it, I can tell it's just like I can't get my head to wrap around it. It's like taking too long to figure out how to write an answer. That's the kind of skip. You only need to get 66% to get a 5. So if I miss these 3 points on this FRQ, I'm still at a 5 rate because I'm getting 6 out of 9, which is 66%. So learn to skip things. And if you have time, go back and do what you can. But the writing here it's too involved for me, even as a teacher. I get tired trying to figure out what I'm supposed to write to get all these points. So I would definitely save it till I've done everything else. So learn to skip things. Get easy points first. The last one says the rate at which tickets are sold is right here. So this is the rate at which tickets are being sold per hour. Based on that rate, how many tickets are sold? That's the fundamental theorem. If you integrate the rate at which tickets are being sold, so from 0 to 3, you integrate the rate at which tickets are being sold, you're going to compute how many tickets were actually sold. So you write down this, you have to round to the nearest whole number to get the point. So here is a summary of the point. So we didn't worry about this one. That means there were 6 points available to us.